Good evening, everybody. Elizabeth Diamond with the Diamonds Forever 3113 show, always on Mondays at 7:30 p.m. Central, with the Diamond Network. Started by me, moi, Elizabeth Diamond, part of the Diamond Aspect. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi.
And tonight is June 20th, 2016. And let's see. I called Cynthia to remind her to get on. She said her clock was different. It was 8:30 or something, and it's 7:30. So I say, we're going to talk about that tonight. Was it different, or was it? But just to let you know, we have a candy shop did a special show on Saturday. If you weren't there, and if you were there, you're probably going to want to re-listen to it. That show is up on YouTube. It's a candy shop special edition. I'll let you, Candy, tell the title. But Chris was there and talked a lot about a lot of things, good stuff. And also, I'm losing my memory, or am I? What else did I want to bring on? Chris will be here on the Diamond Show the last Monday in June. So I think that's next Monday or the Monday after.
Monday.
Next Monday. Thank you for your help. Lots of good shows lately. I was able to distribute some Diamonds Network cards to a juice shop that nearby in my neighborhood. I found a juice shop with some organic wraps. So I get a one close. But, all right, we're going to start out with the Candy Jar News. I have a few things, won't take long. And then we have Cynthia here, and we have Richard wants to bring in a few things. And we're going to do a little galactizing, too, spot tonight. So surprises always abound. Don't expect anything. Just go with the flow, stay in the now, and smile. So without further ado, Candy, come in with the Candy Jar Shop News.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. You just sound so joyous, and we want to all just, take a deep breath and feel joyous. This is a beautiful summer solstice. I have had several rituals that have just felt so very powerful, and I walked a mile last night, 11 p.m., just radiating under the full moon. Perfect weather in the late evening for some good walking. And so, the galactics have said that with this solstice, there's extra energetic waves coming in from the universe and showering and strengthening Mother Earth as she is in the process of ascension. And so it's just a really special time this day, the longest day of the year. And then tomorrow, the scientists, they say that we'll, be losing a minute and continue. So, one of the rituals I helped with was inspired by Valiant Thor. Yes, Barack Obama himself came to the special edition of the Candy Shop Show with Chris.
That's what I was going to say, Candy. We were graced with President Barack Obama, President of the United States of America on the Diamonds Network. That is so humbling. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, what I noticed was that Valiant Thor did not address him as President Obama anymore because that the leadership position is in General Dunford's hands. But he did share some amazing information about what the cabal's tricks have been playing on Obama and on his friend Omar. And so the title of the show discusses Valiant Thor, and how he is taking power away from the three heads of the cabal, who we've discussed on this network, including Cheney. And we also were graced with a message, a very special message from the Ra of the bird tribe. So the ritual that Valiant Thor wanted each of us to do that night, and I did it on the call, and you might want to be prepared to do it on when you listen to the call yourself, or you might want to do it after the call. But he asked, he asked to visualize hands handing you right in front of your chest your a shard of origin. Your shard of origin, right? Origin.
Yes,
your soul self shard, so that you could go back to where you become more who you originally were, and so that your soul shards can all be together, and your soul self be wonderful and be freed from the bondage that we've been under for such a long time. So listen to the ritual. Please do it. And please, anybody that you can talk to, suggest that they do it. If there's any one show that Chris has done, I think this is the one to pass around to friends. And if they wouldn't understand what we're talking about, I would suggest that you think of a loved one or a dear friend and maybe ask their soul self if you could do the ceremony for them. So that's just a treat tip from Candy. And something else exciting that was happening today is we had some Diamond Network friends that joined me in a special conference call on a topic that I have mentioned in the Candy Jar Treat several times before, and that's Bitcoin. So my friend Dave is still visiting from California, where everybody seems to be into Bitcoin. And so we had a detailed instruction on how to open an account at localbitcoins.com, and we had people that researched during the call, and they could see that Candy was selling Bitcoins cheaper than anybody else in the entire country, and so I sold a little bit today, and so people could understand the whole process. And if you don't mind, I'd like you to get your pencils and papers and write this down, and people can listen to this at their leisure. And then once you have listened to it, it's a little over an hour. Then attempted to open your own account, then call me and I'll contact me and I'll answer any of your questions. Together, we can make an in-run around the banking system. And so it is the phone number to access the recording, which will never be put on YouTube, is 712-451-0019. And then there's an access number. And again, that is 712-451-0019. And the access number is 476-447. And the recording is recording number 2. So if you have any interest in Bitcoins, and as we know on the Diamond Network, we've had guests that shared that it was the Galactics that are inspiring the Bitcoin movement as a transition.
Oh, it's David Wilcock, a David Wilcock show. He said, yeah, he learned. Right. Yeah, it was a good guy thing.
Right, away from the dollar bill, and so we're transitioning into the Bitcoin. Well,
and before you go further, Candy has an ad or a blog. She wants me to blog her Bitcoin thing. And I'll try to get that up in the next 2 or 3 days. On the Diamonds blog, that's diamonds with an S forever31.blogspot.com. While you're there, the YouTube links, 2 channels are on the right-hand side. Cynthia's links on the right-hand side. Chris's links are on the right-hand side, and more. And the show information is at the top. So go for it.
Thank you so much, sister. That's wonderful. And so, and I'm learning too. We're learning together. about the Bitcoins and all these things that the Galactics are sharing with us. So, of course, if you've watched the national news tonight and your other news sources, there's lots of things going on with heat waves and earthquakes and volcanoes and water mains bursting and sinkholes getting larger and fish landing on beaches and there's just all these things going on and so much more than even that the nightly news says. And we've been encouraged that as we're making this change and creating this revolution to take the cabal away from brainwashing and controlling us, that they're trying very hard to do it without bloodshed, but it would be wise to have about 30 days' worth of supplies on hand in case there's a little bit of economic disruption, etc. So remember that. Remember this is 2016, the year of change, as we get ready to go deeper in fifth dimension and get ready for full disclosure in 2017. All right. Well, I thank you all. I'm looking forward to what Cynthia has to share tonight, and I'm putting the lid on the candy jar treats. And thank you all.
Thank you, Candy.
But I could not find anything from Benjamin Fulford. If someone else has found something, they're welcome to share their bits of news, too.
Yeah, I'll look at Benjamin. I'll blog that on the blog as soon as it comes up tonight or tomorrow. Thank you, Candy.
It came up. It was up early this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's a wonderful, wonderful, amazing.
Well, maybe
okay,
usual.
I want you to give an overview of it. Let me just say a few things, Cynthia, and I'll have you do an overview, a little bit of it. How's that?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So regarding the General Dunford thing, I don't know. I think I remember the Galactic saying that it's not exactly that way. Just know that there's major changes going. I don't know if that's exactly it, Anyway, so the title of the show that Chris and Candy did is Valiant Thor Speaks of the Three Heads of the Cabal, and that's up on YouTube. Right below Cynthia and Athens Monday call where they reviewed the month of June, which if you want to go back and listen to that. But on the special call Saturday, wow, I thought I've gone down all the rabbit holes. No. Cynthia always says there's more that we're going to be surprised with. Well, Valiant Thor, hopefully you've been following along and kind of understand it, but if you have to start with this, you can go back and listen to more and get more understanding. Brought in a concept that, and we've always known, and it was a hard concept for me to accept at the beginning when Captain first brought it in, regarding clones and cloning, and there's a lot of clones in government. Well, kind of the picture that he painted a little bit and more stuff in there. You have to listen to the call because there's something that you can accept that will help you in this awakening. He kind of painted a picture of a clone war going on. The good guys, good Galactics are using a tactic. I don't want to say war. I'll say love conquering cloning thing. It's pretty cool. Anyway, take a listen to that. I do want to bring up, and I've been seeing a little bit of this. I blogged a little bit of it, and I wanted to bring in what Cynthia brought in a couple weeks ago and called the Mandela effect. Well, they're just calling it that. They could call it anything. So what people are finding is labels. I even found it today when I got the peanut butter out. It looked odd. It said GIF, J-I-F. I thought there was two F's. It just seemed odd, an odd emotion to me. I said, oh, okay, this is what they're talking about. But Fruit Loops, the Fruit, F-R-U-I-T, is changed to F-R-O-O-T. Somebody did an investigation into Fruit Loops, and they called the company, and, it's always been that way. And Bible verses changing, marketing stuff, words, letters changing, spelling changing, graphics changing. There's probably more that we haven't noticed. So as I was doing, and I didn't do a lot of research, God just, when you're in the flow, you just stumble onto it. There's a YouTube, I think I lost it. I don't think I shared it on my Facebook, the important one. A man did. He was 70 years old, and he regarding the Mandela effect. He says he never puts YouTubes on unless it's really, really, really important. 70 years old. He was blessed with a book from Tesla when he helped a professor in the college clean up or something. He gave him a book, and he just fell in love with that book. And he, in the early 60s, the library, he got all the books he could, and he's actually read all the Tesla books, and he's a scientist himself, and he did a lot of tests. And in those Tesla books, Tesla actually, there's a lot that he couldn't do because the technology wasn't around then. But he did, and this guy redid it, what Tesla did. He was able to go through to dimensions, see through dimensions with a Tesla technology. No wonder he got murdered. But and then he talks about, like the first is, we'll just say the first dimension is us here. Second dimension, closest to us, is almost exactly alike, and almost exactly alike. So he was saying that he thinks that maybe, CERN. And what they're doing with CERN, it's a quantum computer, the supercomputer, and I'm going to go back to that because we've prayed the highest good of all concerned over both of those. The supercomputer, which is happy computer now and super happy computer now, supercomputer is a quantum computer. A computer just thinks in linear, like a line, but the supercomputer is a quantum computer. It can think in line, up and down, every which way but loose. Okay, so they fired up CERN, and they did open up a dimension in, what was that, with President Obama on stage, remember, and threatened to open up a dimension because, according to Tesla, the third and fourth dimension after the first and second is filled with, what we call demons or darkness or whatever, all kinds of trouble, unless they run into the Diamonds Network people when we tell them about the Law of One. But so, this Mandela effect is emerging according to Tesla and this old man that proved it, the first and second dimension. The dimension's not the right word, but, the closest to us, which is very alike, which may be what we're seeing. And so, what are they doing with CERN? They're going to fuse these two dimensions, and then they're going to go to the third and fourth, and that would be a wild game. But I want to tell you, that's what I think, and we're going to ask Cynthia to look in and see if the Galactics want to bring anything about that. But the other thing is, okay, give me a minute. I was talking about the dimensions and all that. I want to just remind the Diamonds Network, let's go back to CERN. That's a big weapon the bad guys have, Cabal. CERN and the supercomputer. I want to remind you that they've both been prayed for live on the show. And like, for instance, we prayed for CERN, the Law of One. Chris was there. The Galactics came in, and we saw live the changes from bad to the highest good of all concerned. So whatever this is, it's all going to end up for the highest good of all concerned. It's getting really hot and heavy and fun. So with that, we'll just do a little galacting if Cynthia would want to look in, and if any Galactics would want to come for the highest good of all concerned and share. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but maybe I'm on to something. Just wanted to share a few minutes before we get started.
Hey, Elizabeth?
Yes.
I don't know, this is Marianne. I don't know if it's a good time. But you were saying GIF, and I thought it was Jiffy, and I looked it up. We're backtracking. I'm sorry if I interrupted.
No, that's okay.
But there was a whole thing when I looked it up of saying I thought it was Jiffy, and then it brought up the Mandela effect. So that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, my jar said JIF, and I thought it was Jiffy too, JIFFY. Yeah. And also, if you watch these YouTubes, you guys, people are proving that we're not imagining things are not changing, because like they would take the Fruit Loops and go back in an old newspaper ad, and there it was, spelled FRUIT, not FROOT.
But anyway. That's what I have to say, and continue on.
Okay, thank you. So, Cynthia?
Hi, yeah. Okay, so which question?
Okay. So I was just what can they add? What I just brought that scenario. Am I completely wrong, or am I on the right track, or is there anything they want to add? It's right and wrong, whatever.
Okay, rephrase the question. Just say it real quick again.
What people are calling the Mandela effect, where they're seeing like labels and different scriptures showing up in the Bible, is that in fact a fusing of two different dimensions, like our dimension and the dimension closest to us?
Not really. Yes and no. What I'm being told about this is when there is a major change in the emotional frequency, then there is a major change in what reality manifests out of the infinite potential realities in the quantum field. In other words, emotion determines... hold on just a second. Emotion, the frequency of the emotion determines the frequency of the physical event. For example, I'll just use myself. Back in the day, in the hippie time, there was a police crackdown. There was a lot of chaos. And the guy I was with and I were so in a state of peace. We were so peaceful. We weren't afraid. Everybody else was running around like chickens with their heads cut off, but we were very, very peaceful. And what happened is that I guess we were invisible because nobody saw us. We could see them. We could see ourselves. I could see Dusty. He could see me. But people we even know looked straight through us. And this went on for quite some time. Had Dusty and I been afraid, I think we probably would have ended up in jail, and I wouldn't be talking to you today because they were cracking down just on everybody. And Dusty and I looked a whole lot like hippies. I mean, he had long hair and a beard, and, you know, I had my long dress on. And but we were so peaceful. I mean, we just couldn't get afraid if our lives depended on it. He and I were just standing there in total and utter everything's okay emotional energy, even though we were seeing people running around, even though we were seeing all this stuff happening. I think it must have been our higher selves or our overlighting guardian angels or Christ or whatever. But he and I were just utterly peaceful. We were as peaceful as if you were standing on an ocean looking at the waves crashing on the shore at sunset with the dolphins and the whales singing songs. I mean, we were just so peaceful. And people we know very well, you know, came within 6 feet of us, and they didn't see us. They looked straight through us. We would even speak to them, and they wouldn't speak back. So we went invisible, is the only interpretation I can make of what happened there. And I've seen it happen other times, too. So if you get an upgrade, an emotional vibe with enough people, you're going to manifest a different reality. And
you're talking about collective consciousness.
Yeah,
our collective consciousness is
in Dusty's, in my case, it was just two of us. But you can get 10, 15, 1,000, 1,000,000, whatever. And I think with this solstice energy, the adamantine particles, we are being anointed. We are being anointed, and there is a transference of consciousness. Now, that is, I don't know about y'all. I'd love to hear feedback, but with me,
and we could be being anointed with even the CERN and supercomputer because they're all at the highest good of all concern using via that.
Well, so that's what the Bible says when it says give thanks for all things work for good. Mm-hmm. And so everything, see, the only way darkness can operate is in the dark. And their greed and their lust for power got them to make the internet and phones and all this stuff. And because they did that, they shot themselves in the foot. Now, by shooting themselves in the foot, they actually saved themselves. All things work for good for everybody.
Yeah, and that example of the clone thing, if you listen to that call, they're using the clone technology, which was probably good in the first place, but then we took it and used it for bad. But now they're using, the good guys are using it with them, intertwined. It's such a multidimensional, fun.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. My suggestion is very simplistic, and that is whatever you pay attention to, thank it, respect it, and bless it with the highest good. Whether you're paying attention to the bad guys, the good guys, what's going on with them, maybe you're blanking all that out, you're out in the woods, you want to keep your attention on whatever beauty is that you're focusing on. It could be ancient teachings of Zen Buddhism, it could be seeing the handiwork of God in nature, it could be certain meditational practices, all of the above, whatever. But whatever arises, I'm with Matt Kahn on this, whatever arises, if it looks bad and feels bad, it's still working for good. And by taking that attitude and that belief and ridiculous, utter, huge faith, it will actually transform it quickly into good. In other
what
words,
helps is be in neutrality and just be observer. Tell yourself you're just being the observer.
I wouldn't even say that, honey. I would say, no matter what is arising, the true currency, the true Bitcoin, the true dollars, the true gold is your attention. So wherever you pay attention, you're buying it. Whatever you pay attention to, you buy it, whatever it is. So whatever you're paying attention to, my suggestion is don't stay neutral, but immediately thank it. If it's Archangel Michael, thank it. If it's the most evil thing you ever saw, thank it. You just thank it, then you respect it, and then you love it and give it the law of one. And what happens is, if it's good, it'll get better. And if it's bad, it'll transmute. Because that's what happens with gratitude and love.
Yeah, I was going to add to that. I forgot now.
Oh, no, please remember, I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay. That's not your fault. It's like weird
It'll
today.
come back.
Yeah. Yeah, so, anyway, whatever. That's great. Okay, great. So, Cynthia, I just really, for a few minutes, let's just, if you would, humbly, just look in and see if there's any galactics there would want to add to that, to this Mandela
Okay, let me
thing,
look in.
What you asked.
Just a minute. Yeah, they sure do. But the thing is interpreting it. The minute I asked, this huge energy entered my third eye, and it went down my throat and then into my heart. So let me see what they're
and I'll
trying
just
to tell
say
me.
what I do with Chris. I just say the highest good of all concerned happen with the translating your language, my friends.
Okay, let me see what happens here. Okay, it's the heart energy. Okay, all right, I got it. They're saying everyone's trying to, not everyone, but most people are in their head. They're in their head trying to figure it out. So they're going to send the codes and the information that people need into their head, but it's going to go down their throats into their hearts. Now let me see what the next block of information is. They're saying that the true baptism is to be immersed in divine love, in the waters, the living waters of divine emotion. and we are all being baptized. Even though we're in our heads, the stuff that we get in our heads is going to go down into our hearts, and each and every one of us in our own personal experience will be immersed in the living waters of the divine heart. And they're saying when that happens, that all the emotional damage and traumas that we've been through, whether we were the perpetrators or the victims or the rescuers, or all of the above, let's see what they're saying now. Hold on. They will be purified and made into life-giving emotions. And they're saying that the dark has taken the most sacred aspects of physicality and perverted it. And they're especially talking about sex. And they're saying that after this thing through the third eye, after we've been immersed in the living waters of the divine heart, after all our emotional traumas have been purified and made into living waters again, then that the beings of earth, the inhabitants of earth, will rediscover the most sacred sex. They will discover it'll just awaken within them. First off and foremost, bodies will become young and beautiful. The emotions have been healed. And the mysteries of planets where there are two genders will unfold according to the original divine blueprints of creation. And they're saying that it's like watching a flower open. It's like watching, there are some flowers that open only at night, and it's like watching one of them open at night. And they're saying we have no idea of the power and the majesty and the splendor and the beauty that happens not only in the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom, but the human kingdom, when all energies from all levels of being are used according to their original design, and that this is what we can expect to occur over the next period of time, because it has to be restored into operation. They're saying to particularly tonight pray for the brave men and women and entities who are fighting to restore harmony and peace on the planet, because there's some major stuff going down tonight. There always is, but there is especially tonight. And they are showing me I was going to say battle, but it looks, I don't want to use that word because it's love conquering, which is not a battle. It's more like transmutation. It's like an army of magicians meeting an army of rabble-rousers. And the army of magicians is transmuting the rabble-rousers by awakening the tones, like a musical tone, of the beauty of their souls. In other words, no matter how evil a person is, there is beauty there. There is a soul there that can be awakened. And this army of magicians, I'm speaking in allegory, it's true, but it's more than that, but I'm doing the best I can. This army of magicians is meeting this army of miscreants, damage doers. And through this amazing ability to see through all the karma and the mind control to the original divine purity of the soul or the essence of everything they can come in contact with. It is so powerful that it's irresistible. It's like the weapon of mass reconstruction. It's a weapon of mass deconstruction. It deconstructs all the illusion and the falsity, and it reconstructs the original divine purity, the original divine essence. And I'm asking if I'm doing this right. They're saying yes. And they're also saying for each and every one of us to file this one away as important, to go up to the mountaintops when it's convenient, when you feel like it. They're saying that the mountaintops are particularly conducive to a type of interaction between the earth and the heavens, and that if you stand on a mountaintop, you become a grounding rod of this amazing energy. And they're saying it's sort of like having sex with the universe. You're connecting the earth and you're connecting this high frequency energy, and it's like an orgasm. And they're saying that in the future, that going to mountaintops and connecting these energies will be something that we know to do when we need healing, or when we want to heal, when we want to heal ourselves or create healing. And they're saying if you can't physically do it, you can metaphysically do it. But they're saying the mountaintops of Earth are very, very, they're actually technical inventions for hooking up electromagnetic energies through our spinal cords. Okay, let me see if there's anything else. They're saying that's all for now.
Beautiful, beautiful, Cynthia and Galactics. Thank you, thank you. That's exactly what, if you can hear between the lines what Chris and the Galactics were talking about on Saturday's show, that's exactly what's going on, that love conquers all. Well, you described it beautifully. And the Galactics have talked about this many times, aspects of this. We just got a clearer vision today. Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much. Let's review, if Cynthia can give us a review of Benjamin Fulford, and then you can go into your astrology, and I think Richard wants to make some comments within the astrology, so I'll let you guide Richard.
First off and foremost, I'm upstairs on the balcony overlooking the forest, and my computer's downstairs. So I'm just going to have to remember, and I read it this morning. General Dunford, as the Supreme Commander, addressed the UN and basically said that militarily speaking, two major points. One is that the national security stuff doesn't work anymore because we're not just these little nations anymore, separate. That it's really global security, that we have to all work together, that what affects one area does affect the whole, even though all the areas should retain their own governance, that as far as security and military goes, that the well-being of the whole is the well-being of the parts. And then the other thing I heard him saying was that the only military strategy that makes sense is being adaptogens. In other words, adapting to new conditions, new technology, new situations. And he also wanted to, they're redoing the UN, they're getting new people in there to do relief all around the world, to do every kind of relief. And it was a very polite speech. I clicked on the link and read the thing. But in the Fulford report, Pentagon officials said that actually even more than that is going on. And they said that the UN forces will be protecting the environment. The people who are killing endangered species will be hunted down and stopped. That going further down into the report, at the very end, he said that perpetrators are being hunted down now as we speak. There was a whole lot of other stuff I just can't remember right now.
Well, Cynthia, what you just said goes exactly what the Galactics brought in for us to pray for these good magicians, like you described, for this. And he uses hunted down, but it's more like what Cynthia describes and Galactics described what's going on. So that's what I want to do real quick, is pray the law of one, like the Galactics want us to pray tonight for all what's going on. We'll call this the love conquering all strategy with the good guys.
That's exactly right.
So let's pray for that, and then we'll go into your astrology, and then bring Richard in when you want.
So we call in the living flame of divine love. We call in universal consciousness. We call in the divine, immortal, enlightened self of every man, woman, and child on this planet and on all planets, because we're all one. And what happens on any planet affects all planets. And we are asking that the divine, immortal selves of every entity, not just humans, but the divine, immortal blueprint of everything in creation, take complete control of everything and transform and transmute through omnipotent faith and omnipresent love everything into its divine perfect blueprint, so that everything is enlightened, everything is perfect, everything is giving and receiving according to the highest good of all concerned, because we are all one. And when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only the highest good of all concerned happen. And I give thanks that this is done. So be it, and so it is.
And so it is. And specifically pray for the consciousness of the Galactics, what they were thinking of when they asked Cynthia for us to pray. We put that on there too.
We're asking that any prayer that needs to be prayed anywhere for anything automatically be prayed. It can either be prayed by the conscious minds of those involved, the superconscious minds of those involved, the subconscious minds of those involved, or any other way. And that the answer to these prayers be perfect and be the highest good of all concerned. And
amen.
Thanks that this is done.
Amen. So be it. I'm going to do a galactivizing thing on you, Cynthia. Now, if you just look in real quick again and see what you see after the after effects of the highest good of all concerned has been infused.
Let me see what happened. Hold on. It just looks like inside every atom, every subatomic particle, and even through the earth herself, through everything, there's this beautiful living glow of light. It's this warm, living glow of light, of life force. That's what I see.
What's the emotion you feel?
Pure being, pure divine being.
Yay! beautiful. We did it. Oh, with the galactics again. Galactalizing. Yeah. This is what happens when you work together. Not just humans on Earth, but all of our brothers and sisters in different dimensions. And off of the Earth and different dimensions.
And
here.
listen, have Richard go ahead because I need to run downstairs real quick.
Okay.
And I'll be right back.
Okay, thank you, Cynthia. And also we're going to take questions and comments, and if anybody else wants to bring anything in after Cynthia's done, please write them down and bring them in. We all can learn. We all learn from each other. We're all masters. Okay? And as you listen to this Diamonds Network energy, your master will keep coming out, squeezing out like toothpaste. That tastes good. All right. Richard. Just star 6, Richard.
What? Hey, good evening.
Cynthia had to go take care of something, so she said for you to start on your comments.
Well, okay, well, sure, but that means she's not listening to my comments. But anyway, no, I just wanted to step forward tonight and remind everybody of the background energies of what's going on here, right? Now, the sun has been moving through Gemini for the last 30 days, right? Today is the entrance into Cancer. But if we look back and consider where we are, we need to consider and take a look at of this Gemini energy. Now, Gemini is about communications. It's about relationship, all right? And Venus was going through Gemini at the same time that the sun was, all right? Venus went into Cancer Saturday. Sun goes into Cancer today. But Mercury is sweeping through Gemini. And this Gemini energy, ruled by Mercury, this is about communication, data transfer, and in these days, I'm seeing and feeling that it's about revealing what's really going on, right? So if you follow astrology a little bit, we've been having this condition that we call a grand cross. And it has to do with Gemini, which is a summer sign, late spring sign, opposite Sagittarius. Now, Saturn is in Sagittarius. Saturn is, in many ways, the controller. All right? Saturn is about discipline, and it's about the rule of the law, but it's in Sagittarius. All right? And Sagittarius is about philosophy, religion, and education. Sagittarius is an educational energy. It's a growth energy. So Saturn in Sagittarius with Sun moving through Gemini, Venus moving through Gemini, doing that opposition. That's the back and forth. All right. So we've got that going on. All right. And then it's connected to the cross. We've got a cross here. Now the cross is Jupiter in Virgo opposite Neptune in Pisces. All right. So Neptune is a wisdom component. And Jupiter in Virgo is a service component. So if we look at what's going on here, Jupiter in Virgo, and it's conjunct the North Node. North Node points to destiny, where we're going here. So this Jupiter had been retrograde. It went direct May the 10th in the middle of Virgo. So we got a lot of support here. But these four signs, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, this is our grand mutable cross. All right. Now, we've been going through this last 3, 4, 5 weeks. Venus left Gemini on the 18th. The Sun leaves Gemini tonight. And Mercury is still in Gemini, okay? It's at about 12 or 13 degrees Gemini. So we've got this cosmic square of energies talking about communication and relationship, right? It's all about the relationships. We got the Neptune in Pisces, which is our wisdom component, all right? And the south node is in Pisces, the north node is in Virgo. We got Jupiter in Virgo leading us and supporting us in this growth, this new growth, and this new condition. So this is all really good. Saturn and Sagittarius supports us in discipline and facts. There's a whole lot of energy out there that's being presented by the dark ones. I'll use that term in a general form, the dark ones. So there's
which we just heard a story about that. And we just heard that story, yay, from the classic.
Yeah,
so a couple more minutes,
look,
Richard.
look.
A couple more minutes, Richard, and then we'll bring Cynthia in. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing. The dark ones are putting out propaganda. Propaganda and lies, and they're trying to control the group.
But the other energies are changing it, just like the story you just heard.
Yes.
That's great.
See, this cosmic square is forcing the issue. Okay. It's forcing a change in conditions. These are mutable signs. They're not fixed. They're not fixed like Taurus is stubborn, Scorpio is frozen water, Leo is, determined and, do it my way. And Aquarius is, I'm the smartest one around here. It's what we're not doing. We've moved into a zone of maximum change, and it's being forced. It's
I like how you said that.
It's energetically being forced towards change for the highest good of all concerned, because Jupiter is in Virgo, which is about service, and it's sitting on the north node. So we got all this going on here. Okay, so we got that condition. So that's where the tension is coming from. Okay, there's a lot of tension out there, right?
Okay, let's do 2 more minutes and then we'll bring Cynthia on. I don't want to push her away.
All right.
That's great, Richard. I'm glad. Let me just say, I like when this happens we just heard a story. It's not a story, the truth, from Cynthia and the Galactics, and you're like explaining the energies of it, right? And we just heard it, so that makes it tangible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So that makes it tangible.
It is. It's very tangible. Now, to refer to what Cynthia was saying here, is emotionally, we've got a grand trine. As the sun moves into Cancer, and Venus has moved into Cancer. All right, those two energies are relating to Neptune, which is in Pisces. And those three planets, Sun, Venus, and Neptune, are working with Mars in Scorpio. Now, Mars and Neptune are both retrograde, so that indicates the time for inner work. But Mars in late Scorpio is going to turn around and go direct at the end of the month. So once Mars goes direct in Scorpio, and Scorpio is about shadow issues, hidden issues, all of this is going to come out. So the prospects going forward are very positive. We got spiritually, emotional transformation going on here. That's Sun in Cancer. We've got Venus. That's
okay,
reception.
Thanks, Richard. I want to bring Cynthia in.
All right, that's reception. And Neptune in Pisces is wisdom. So we're in good shape. Thank you for allowing me this time.
No, that was great, Richard. It was great, and it's going to go right with Cynthia's and everything else. So that was great. It's the male and female energies. It's the sacred sex. And if you ever hear sacred sex mentioned on this call, don't think it's about a couple or two people. It's about yourself. It's Christ consciousness that you transforming, transmuting, your DNA turning on, loving yourself. Go for it, Cynthia. Thanks, Richard.
That was extremely helpful. I really appreciate your sharing that. I just want to put in a plug for astrology. Consider this a commercial break. Now we introduce our sponsor. Astrology and astronomy are basically the same thing. Astronomy is the physical component of it, like you can do with telescopes and math. Astrology is the metaphysical component of it. And what it turns out is we are all living in a giant computer, but it's a living biological one. And if you want to download, the daily news, you look at where the planets are. So you may want to get some of these wonderful free astrology programs on your computer. I think there's one called Planet Dance. It's free. No dinero. No. Free. And it's highly recommended. It has lots of good features. The people giving that away are our brothers and sisters who are giving you a very expensive program for no money, nada. But there's other free programs you can download. And there's a lot you can read on the web. You can get simple astrology books. With any field, you'll have some books that are better than others, some teachers that are clearer than others. You'll run into, the stuff that isn't as good as the other stuff. But that's going to be true whether you do astrology or learn how to bake a cake. What else is new? We're all learning. So those of you who are not into astrology, okay, check this out. Let's pretend here for a minute. Let's pretend, and you'll see my humor here in a minute, that you've got all the money that you'll ever need. So you don't have to go to work anymore. and let's pretend that the whole educational system has been reframed so that children are brought up in small tribes. In other words, we have what the Anastasia books call kin's domain, where you have people, each one having around 2.5 acres, living in communities where they supply all their needs locally. And the children are pretty much educated according, and this is not my field of expertise, but I did study it a little bit, probably according to Maria Montessori. Her stuff was pretty good, or some variation thereof. And so you're not taking your kids to school every week because we're not using technology like we used to. We're not covering the Mother Earth with asphalt. We're not in these metal containers burning petroleum in rush hour traffic. We are more or less a combination of the ancient peoples and the modern peoples. In other words, we have our own land, we're growing our own food, we have these tribal communities, and yet we have the best technology. There are spaceships. We can go to other planets. There is stuff like very advanced computers and internet and so forth. However, having said that, let me completely contradict myself and say we're so enlightened and so psychic we don't need those things anymore. We can bilocate. We're telepathic. We can materialize and dematerialize. We're young and immortal. So just imagine, if you will, that kind of a society. Now, in that kind of a society, guess what? Studying astrology might be a really hip, fun thing to do. So if we take ourselves out of the context of, got to get up in the morning, got to go to work, got to go to bed so we can get up in the morning and do it again, got to do this crazy survival, manic, shock stuff we've been, subjected to for lifetimes, or at least this lifetime. We're not doing that anymore. We go to bed when we want to. We wake up when we want to. There's no panic. Our families are fed. We have housing. We have clothes. We have loving, beautiful, supportive neighbors. There's no panic. Not even to get the kids to school. No panic. Now, there may be some. Let me take that back. If you've got chickens, you love your chickens, and they love you, and they don't mind you having some of their eggs, you might have a slight panic feeding them in the morning. But if they're like Max chickens that I knew up in this dude I knew up in Banks County, he had these hybrid chickens that were part domesticated and part wild. He had these hybrid chickens, and he never had to feed them. They just foraged in the woods, and they would roost up in the trees. And he learned where they laid their eggs, and they didn't mind him eating those eggs. So he didn't have to get up early in the morning. They drank out of the creek. There's wild foxes and all kinds of stuff around there, around old Mac's house. But those chickens, they roosted up in the trees. Nobody bothered them much. In the daytime, they were out in the woods, scratching in the leaves, eating all the bugs and the worms and things they caught. And Mac had plenty of eggs, and they were beautiful eggs, and they had a real good taste to them. And he didn't have to get up and feed his chickens. And he didn't have to give them water either. And that's called maximum efficiency, minimum effort. But if you think of it, if we're in enlightenment, then we are like the great masters like St. Francis. where we can go get the honey out of the wild bee's nest, and they won't sting us. The birds will light on our shoulders. Snakes won't bite us. So it's like we can just relax. And the issue that I see unfolding is that the older this is just my read on it right now, but the older we get, the more childlike we'll be, in that we will be into the sheer delight of being in form on a planet with all other kinds of life forms. And every day will be extremely entertaining in a delightful way. So, Marianne, for some reason, I hope I don't embarrass you, but I really feel like there's something, it's like your higher self is saying, tell Marianne to say something.
I second that. Second it.
I'm saying it.
I'm here.
Thank you, dear friend.
I'm enjoying the story and how you're intertwining it with astrology and bringing people in and making it user friendly and just delightful. And I'll let you continue on. I'm just enjoying this. So it's a user friendly way of bringing astrology to the masses. So I'm going to sit back and
okay.
you can call on me anytime, but I'm enjoying the story right now.
Okay. Mare, are you there? *6. She may not be on tonight. That's okay. Anyway, back to the story. In a good baseball game or a good movie, and the really good ones, the ones that have lasting power that people don't forget, you're following the plot, and then something happens that no one could have ever predicted. A new element is introduced that most stories of that ilk, say it could be a...
I'll give you a movie, John Doe. John Doe is made in the 40s or the 50s.
Yeah.
It was a newspaper. A lady worked there, and they got bought by a corporate, and they fired a bunch of people. Anyway, this lady was pissed off, and she wrote a letter like a guy was writing it, and he's going to commit suicide if something. I don't remember that. But then it was just made up. But the movie goes on, and they found a guy that was going to commit suicide. Anyway, he started speaking in the public, and by the time it all on, he was speaking, and he was going to run for political party, and they wanted him. The whole country was forming little groups and panning together and helping each other and helping this guy because he's an everyday guy. And then it got squashed. You know, the big corporate guy came in and made it. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, in tonight's summer solstice chart, we got one. I've never seen anything like this, ever. You've got Uranus at 24 degrees Aries, Eris at 24 degrees Aries, and Ceres at 24 degrees Aries at the exact moment that Pallas Athena stations retrograde. And all this is happening at the moment of the summer solstice. And I look at this thing, and I look at this thing, and I look at this thing. Now, the cusp of the 7th house is drama. Let me make sure I've got that right. Nope, I don't have it right. That was on the full moon chart earlier this morning. I didn't remember it right. But anyway, in this chart for the summer solstice, the part of fortune, which is on the right near the cusp of the seventh house, is at the place of mystical philosophy. And the seventh house, it governs, marriage, but it also governs very close business relationships or partnerships of any kind. Now, can you imagine more intense relationships than the people who are fighting to save the planets? Every last one of them, or at least a lot of them, are putting their whole lives on the line. Their wives and kids, if they have wives and kids, are back home just hoping they're going to come back alive. And the part of fortune is there. And the part of fortune is the luckiest place in the entire chart. And it's at the place of mystical philosophy. So if any of you generals and people are listening in, and I know you are, whether you're of the earth or galactics, I think it behooves you to use the law of one. It only takes a moment. And you can do it privately. No one has to know. Or not.
Cynthia, thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I will go online and just testify, having sworn on the Bible to tell the truth under oath. I've been using the law of one since the late 60s. I've used it in occult situations. I've used it in ordinary violent situations. I've used it in psychological situations. I've used it in a lot of situations. And I'm still here to talk to you tonight. And I am perfectly delighted with it. It's never let me down. And I trust the source that I learned it from. I've shared it with a lot of people. A lot of people seem to know it. They are happy with it. It is purported to be the original law of creation, that all other laws come from it, and it overrides all lesser laws, and this includes natural laws. And we're dealing here with mystical forces. A lot of this technology is a hybrid between technology and mystical forces. When you start getting into Tesla and Wilhelm Reich, you're getting into, it's just like a rainbow. You get a rainbow. You got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Now you look at the darn thing, and you'll notice that where it goes from red to orange, or from orange to yellow, or from yellow to green, there's not a drastic cutoff point. It fades. Red fades into orange. Orange fades into yellow. In other words, there's infinite gradients. You'll have this pure red, and then you'll have red with a little bit of orange, and then you'll have a little bit more orange, and a little bit more, and a little bit more, and then finally you're into pure orange, and then you get a little bit of yellow, a little bit more, then finally into pure yellow. So when you start blending technology, physics, with metaphysics and astrophysics, you'll get these blend-in ranges where it's part one and part the other. And I just ask you, please, to memorize the law of one. It goes like this. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only the highest good of all concerned happen. And I give thanks that this is done. That's it. It's a code.
And by the way, the Law of One is written on the right side of the Diamonds blog, just so if you want to go refer to it.
And if you're dealing with physical forces, tactical stuff, get 6 submarines over here, put up the screens over here and take, fine. Use it there. If you're dealing with weird and mystical technology or occult forces, like on a solstice tonight, there's all kinds of occult stuff going on by everybody, good and bad. Use the Law of One and just test it out. If it doesn't work, you don't need it. But you'll never know unless you try it. And try it in all the different situations. Try it internally if you've got health issues or psychological issues. Try it in your family if you've got family issues. Try it with your dog at home who may have issues. Try it with the neighbors across the street or down the line, or maybe a fellow person in the Army or the Navy or whatever that you've just never gotten along with, and you suspect, are they a double agent? Whatever the drama is, just do a knee-jerk Law of One and just, throw it out there like a line in the water when you're fishing and just see what happens. You'll know. You do it a few times, you're going to know if you want to keep doing it or not. And it's a personal thing. It's just like learning to walk when you're a baby. Nobody can do it for you. Right? And people will pick you up when you fall down, and they'll clap and give you encouragement when you can walk from one chair to the other without falling down, but you still have to do it yourself. So I am just recommending that everybody learn the Law of One, including you people in the dark forces, because you're asking for the highest good of all concerned, including your own. And from the CERN and all your black op science stuff that we are a unified field, and that what affects one affects another. So the darn thing is true. Use it. If you get harmed, it's going to harm everybody else. If anybody gets harmed, it's going to harm everybody else. And so as a collective, which is really one being, which is the body of God, we are going out of an autoimmune disease like a cancer where cells attack other cells into complete youth and immortality and perfect health and beauty, where all the cells and all the systems support all the other cells and all the systems, a healthy creation. And it really is all about beauty. Physical beauty, emotional beauty, mental beauty, and spiritual beauty. Beauty is when music is beautiful or not. When a painting is beautiful or not. When a lady or a gentleman is beautiful or not. When a room is beautiful or not. It's all about the expression of divinity as beauty. Physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, individual, and collective. And that is what I predict to be this new age we're going into. It's an it's an inquiry. It's an inquiry. Right now the big space program is the big deal. Oh, we're going to go to other planets, other dimensions, other universes, wormholes. Yeah, right. Well, we will. But let me tell you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I had a galactic visit today in meditation. It was weird. It's just like how do you remember this? You know what I mean? I was at a worship celebration years ago, 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, and Michael Terrell, no, not Michael Terrell, I forgot his name. But anyway, he played the guitar and music. It's music again. But he had a visitation. He told his story. He had a visitation from an angel that held up a big 8, and then he untwisted it, and it was a circle. Okay? So I remember that detail. I don't know why. So today in meditation, that being, that angel that he said came to me that held up the 8 and twisted the circle. And he said, okay, here's where we are, and here's where we're changing to. We've been in the figure 8, like going back and forth, you know, from the new energies to the old energies. That's the only way I can describe it. But now it's the circle. Now it's like a pivotal point. He turned the 8 to the circle. We're the circle. What does that mean to you?
I immediately thought of the Moebius strip. That if you turn it's Moebus, I think, strip. You can look it up. It's a strip that when you put your finger on it and go around the circle, that without picking your finger up, you cover both sides. I know that sounds mystical, but it's a Moebius strip. And I think you're right about the figure 8. In the sense the sense that I'm getting is this. But let me finish what I was saying, and then I'm going to answer what you just said. Just quickly, what I was saying before is that the whole purpose of everything is beauty. Beautiful emotions, beautiful physical forms and of whatever kind, planets, people, entities, situations, beautiful thoughts, and beautiful desires, because God is beautiful. But back to what you were saying, I think we're going to embody the triangle. In other words, I could say to you this, and just bear with me because I'm trying to create a thing here. I could say to you this. I could say, Elizabeth, I really like to be alone. And you would nod your head and you would think, yeah, I like to be alone too. And then I could say, but on the other hand, I really enjoy being with people. I really do. And you'd nod your head and you'd say, yeah, I like to be with people too. And then I could say, you know what, Elizabeth? And you'd say, what? I'd say, well, I made a huge discovery. And you would say, what? You'd see the twinkle in my eye and go, oh, God, what's she going to say now? It's another Cynthianism. And I'd say, you know what? I've never met anyone stupider than I am. And you jerk back in surprise, and then you see a smile play across my face. And I nod and I say, but on the other hand, I've never met anyone smarter. And then I continue on and I say, you know what? I love to sleep at night. I love to crawl in my bed with my chihuahuas and my comfortable pillows and sleep. I love to dream. But then on the other hand, I love the day. I love to be awake. I love to do things. And you see how I'm playing the opposites? The opposites are no longer fighting each other. They're following each other in a circle, like a cycle. Yeah. So you've got all these opposites that are following each other in a circle with the one being, which is the point of all the opposites, appreciating every last one of them. Does that
It's called dance.
Dance?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with it.
That was a physiological explanation of 8-0, because the angels have philosophy or something are around with the astrology.
Okay, my dogs are acting like somebody's walking up the thing. Marianne,
let's read an angel message. Yeah.
Let me turn it over to you, Marianne. I was thinking you might want to read 8 Gemini, which is the part of fortune. And I can't read my own writing here. It's 8 Gemini because that's the luckiest place in this summer solstice chart.
Okay, let me find that.
Okay, and then I'm going to go down and see what is making my well-behaved chihuahuas who have learned not to bark too much and deserve the highest praise.
That's cool.
8
and
Gemini.
Well, Nair's looking for that. We're going to take questions and comments after the angel message, and be sure to call in the angels.
I'll be right back.
Every night. Okay.
Okay. This is 8 degrees Gemini. Golema, the angels of mystical philosophy. And we call in the angels of mystical philosophy. Golema. Beloved, once the abilities to transfer consciousness to communication with animals and to understand symbols have been encompassed, Providence has ordained that we help children of divinity to communicate even the most abstract ideas in a clear and simple manner. Wisdom of mind, which is the gift of Gemini, enlivens clear and powerful communication with all beings on all levels. We teach the faculty of expressing the most difficult philosophical problems in mortal tongue, that is, the language of the intellect, so that they have become comprehensible for the non-initiate. We inspire understanding of all the laws governing creation, especially the law of one, which is the original law from which all other laws come. This original law overrides all lesser laws when it is invoked. In this law, the oneness of all creation and the importance of the highest good of all are explained. The law of one. We are all one. When one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, I ask that only what is the highest good of all happen. And I give thanks that this is done. So be it. We help people simplify difficult problems so that the intellect of the uninformed can comprehend them easily, and solutions are found that are understandable to all. We inspire writers of mystical and abstract philosophies so the most elevated truths are explained in simple terms and made accessible to everyone at any stage of development. And that is 8 degrees Gemini, Golema, the angels of mystical philosophy. And I'm going to turn it back. If Cynthia's not back, I'll turn it back to you, Liz.
Thank you, Marianne. Did you notice that Angel reviewed everything we've talked about, concepts tonight? That's awesome.
Absolutely.
And Richard, when he came in, he was on a physiological, I can't say the word, tone. So, yeah, that's cool. And I mentioned physiological right before this. I didn't know we were going to read those. Wow. So anybody have any questions, comments, anything you want to bring in right now while we wait for Cynthia? The star 6? If there's anybody new who would like to just come and introduce yourself, just star 6 and say hi, if you like. It's up for grabs, star 6. Okay, Cynthia, are you back?
Yes, I am. And I'm going to read Pallas Athena, which stations tonight during the summer solstice, which is exactly square, exactly to the degree of what you just heard about mystical philosophy. Now, before I read this, two things. One is when a planet or point stations, that is empowered, that whatever that degree is empowered for quite a long time. And Pallas Athena is stationing retrograde, which means that what I'm about to read you is going to be something that people deep inside are going to be mulling over and conquering with their nurturing divine feminine self. In other words, Pallas Athena is the warrior goddess. In mythology, she sprung out of the head of her father Zeus. And the goddess anything has to do with emotions and form. So the warrior goddess that protects our emotions, that don't want us to be abused emotionally, the warrior goddess that doesn't want the earth to be destroyed, that wants the earth to be protected, is stationing to go retrograde, meaning that this fighting spirit in all of us who wants everybody to feel good and happy, that wants everything to be happy and healthy, is going deep, deep inward with great power. Now, the place it's going inward is 8 Pisces, which is the heavenly host of schools and universities. This is Paratio, beloved. The angels of Athram of 7 degrees Pisces focus on aiding private studies. However, we at 8 degrees Pisces support humankind in acquiring knowledge at schools and universities. As people realize operating just like a human body, in which many different individual parts depend on each other for life, they often join their endeavors with others instead of going it alone. When this occurs in educational pursuits, we are the heavenly host who are available to ensure that their experience of learning takes on the mystical aura of the path to perfection. When one seeks education in collaboration with others who share the same goal, it is our job to help with courses and examinations. People gather to share mutual experiences and pool resources with common intent. Their cooperative efforts establish group thought forms that aid in achieving shared goals. Therefore, a place of learning builds powerful educational thought forms. Students and instructors alike gather in the safety and support of institutional settings to benefit from these thought forms and from other resources a university offers. In schools and universities, one may sense our presence as a feeling of mystery and sacred adventure. It is we are the heavenly host, who have presided over dedicated places of learning since the beginning. Our joy is to provide students whatever they need to excel in joy in any field of study. Great scholars throughout history have been under our sphere of influence, and professors who call on us when instructing their students experience clarity and strength and inspiration. We help with alignments on subtle intellectual levels when clarity and penetrating focus are combined with inner lights. Ability is gained to see through obscurity and confusion to the original perfect designs of creation. So this is within about 5 degrees of Neptune. There's this big show happening here. And if you think about it, well, when I think about it, make I statements here. Universities have been used by the dark in horrendous ways, schools and universities, from kindergarten up. And this is all being reclaimed by the light right now. Behind the scenes, I would wager that as much as we're paying attention to the ETs, as much as we're paying attention to the money situation, as much as we're paying attention to all these political situations, all these military situations, I would wager that behind the scenes there is a similar takeover of the light with our educational systems and our universities. They're no longer going to be mined for scientists to do things like CERN. They're no longer going to be means to take children away from nature and their parents. The schools and the universities are going through as much of a radical change as our economies, as our legal systems,
medicine,
our medicines,
government,
our government,
media,
our media, all of this. So that's a very good news in this chart. As Richard said, there's much good in this chart. I would like to say, though, normally when you have squares and T-squares and grand squares, it's associated with hardship. And the reason for that is whenever you have a square like in your own chart or in a chart like this, it forces change. It forces it. It's like a woman giving birth. Whether she's ready or not, she could be out in the middle of the rain at a train station. She could be in the best hospital in the world. It doesn't matter. When that baby is ready to come out, it comes out. That's like a square. It forces whatever the issues are. But there's so much grace in this chart. The fact that the square is in mutable signs, what this is saying is we're being forced to change. Well, don't we all want change anyway? Hello? Wouldn't you like to be healthier, more beautiful? Wouldn't you like to walk down the street and see everybody happy and smiling? Wouldn't you like to see beauty in nature, beauty in architecture, beauty everywhere you look? Wouldn't you like to just have your own time, not be in necessity just to survive? Wouldn't you like to have beautiful relationships with your neighbors? Wouldn't you like to wake up every morning and you're thinking, wow, yesterday was so great. I had such a great night's sleep. I wonder what's going to happen today, like a little kid who's happy and can't wait to go play. That's the world we're looking at. And when you take into account the fact that it is emotions that operate the quantum field, you will see that we have to do this. It's not, oh, wouldn't it be nice, quote unquote. No. It's a militaristic global security issue that people be happy. That they be happy with themselves and they be happy with each other, that the animals are happy, that nature is happy, the bees are happy, the butterflies are happy, the animals in the ocean are happy, the ETs are happy, whatever is happy. Because those emotions are compressed information. And that compressed information goes out as a frequency, and it actually changes the molecular composition of creation. That's what your jiffy thing is, Liz. That's what this Mandela effect is.
Wow, sounds like it.
Hello?
It's changing, and it's giving us signs and wonders that makes you wonder right now. Wow,
yes.
if it's happening to stuff, material stuff, which is alive, we're all alive, it's happening to us, humans.
Right.
Cynthia?
We're changing. We're morphing.
Yes, Marianne. What?
Yeah. I was reading somewhere. I can't remember the article. I think it was David Wilcock's new report. But and this has been happening for quite a while, but the energy from the sun, of course, is coming and hitting the deepest part of us, and it's bringing up the emotions. But with so many of us praying and doing our emotional work, what I'm seeing is hopefully it's going to counterbalance the ones that aren't doing a lot of the internal work, and their emotions are coming up. And so that's with the mutable. That will help make it easy for us to transform our bodies, our mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual bodies. And this today for me was incredible. I mean, it still is. I mean, it just feels like things are melting away. Old issues are melting away. That's what I get for myself for mutable.
Or if like a conflict comes up with you and a person, just say, and it used to last a half an hour, it only lasts 5 minutes, and then you go back to neutrality emotions. Yeah, that's what Franco said it would do. It would do it faster.
Back to you, Cynthia.
Yeah, I'm experiencing the same thing today. I found myself thinking about people I haven't thought about for a while, maybe for a long time, and some of these people had done really horrendous things. Like if you'd read it in a novel or something, you'd go, oh my God, that's terrible. But I found myself resolving the whole thing and just melting into this place of love. In a way, forgiveness, the word bothers me because it's sort of, for me anyway, feels like a superiority thing, like you're bad and I'm good and I'm going to forgive you. And I don't like that.
How about acceptance? No judgment. Acceptance?
What? No, it wasn't acceptance with no judgment. It was more like I just melted. It was beyond any rational.
It just doesn't matter anymore.
It just doesn't matter anymore, and I love them, and my heart goes out to them. If anything, I feel guilty because they had a much harder time than I did, which is why they were acting the way they did. Fortunately, the people who have done me in, quote unquote, I'm way overgeneralizing here, I did, in some cases, at any event, know something of their background, and I don't know how they survived it. I really don't. I mean, whatever I thought I went through as a kid is nothing compared to what they went through. I just don't know how they came out. And, if I had gone through what they went through, I don't think I'd survive in any way, shape, or form. They did survive, and yeah, they got into some stuff that was kind of iffy, to put it mildly. And yeah, I got in their crosshairs, but I'm still here. And when I was thinking about them, yeah, you're right, Marianne. It just didn't matter anymore. I just loved them, and I was glad they were alive. And I was just hoping that they would completely go into happiness and peace, even though they did have all that hardship. It's been wonderful.
Oh, and that reminds me, Marianne, Cynthia, everybody. Candy's been having a guest, Mark Sorensen, on her show, and the Galactics. He's been doing stuff like we're talking about. Nobody knows, and just recently the Galactics released him to come release what he's done and what he's doing, and he channels the Galactics. And the Galactics that have come to the Diamonds Network through Mark are bringing light codes, language light codes, speaking in their language. And so that's another gift for Diamonds Network. Thank you. I want to just thank you, Galactics, that chose Diamonds Network to come through. Mark, and humbled that Mark chose Diamonds Network to bring out what he can bring out to the world now. Isn't that fantastic? And the Angels of Philosophy. Yes.
This is Candy, and Mark will be on my show Wednesday night again from Canada, and he said last Wednesday was just epic, an epic experience.
And what Mark and his Galactics and the others have done, if you heard the story a couple of calls back, regarding bringing the energies, and it has something to do with the Tower of Babel. That's epic in itself, if you think about it. That was an epic back then when it got confused and chaos. And it's epic now when that got turned back around for our, supernatural, natural selves through Mark and his friends and the Galactics. So very humbled. And yes.
I just want to ask Cynthia, just what you've been saying, Elizabeth, how does this tie in with the astrology tonight of Cynthia?
Beautiful. Yes, it's with change, with beneficial change,
mutable change, easy change.
Yeah, we have. Let me just say this: you think you've been changing, you ain't seen nada yet.
Right.
Nada. I'm telling you what.
I would like to offer up. Yeah, I'd like to offer up a condition that the word that comes to mind is grace.
I totally concur.
Gratitude and grace.
Yep, I totally concur with that. This chart, if ever was a new age being born, if ever we were being born into a new consciousness, this is a birth chart.
And you should know, Cynthia, you look at it, and you and Richard look at astrology all the time, and Marianne. So as the astrologer, you guys are, this is the first time you've seen something like this kind of birth chart, right, in all your years?
Well, yeah, and keep in mind this. The life cycle, say, of a potato plant might be 1 year. The life cycle of a giant oak could be 500 years or even longer. So a birth process, say, of a human baby, I've heard of women giving it a birth in 30 minutes. I've heard it going on for 3 days. But when you're talking about a whole sector of the multiverse going into a birth, it makes sense that it would take a little bit longer.
And, well, that's called, we call it, people are in stages of birthing. But here's how I can put it. All the subject matter we talked about tonight, where, I always say we are the purest technology. We're it. We are the technology. But we have technology like CERN that's at the highest good of all concerned, and this love-conquering thing is going on with the good guys, bad guys, muting them with love energy. So human beings, there's going to be, we still need that that technology that's out there for us to grow. We're using it to grow, and there's some that'll grow out of it faster than the others. And so, because we are the technology, your supernatural, natural self. But we still need this, and it's fusing together, but we still need it, and it all goes back to everything turning out for good.
Well, Elizabeth, it's like I said earlier. It's like any polarity. When I say to you, I love being alone, but then on the other hand, I love being with people. When I say to you, I've never met anyone stupider than me, and then I say, but on the other hand, I've never met anybody smarter either. You're saying, on one hand, we're going to really need our technology, but on the other hand, we really don't.
yeah, and that's the 8. The being was telling me it's not time for 8 anymore. The 8 is going to full circle. So, yeah, and we talked about that's beautiful. Yes.
Yeah, so let me turn this over to Marianne, to you, to anyone else that wants to share, and I'll just sit here and enjoy.
It's sharing time, guys. Star 6 to come in. If you're new tonight, we'd like to just come and welcome you and thank you for coming. And anybody, questions, comments? Questions for Cynthia, Marianne, me, anybody? Or comments? This is your time.
Hi, I just wanted to say that I saw an article on the internet that said that the astrological configurations right now, the time of the solstice, the opposites, the two Gemini full moons in a month, plus Venus and Cancer is the same as it was in 67, the Summer of Love. And it's the first time that's happened. This has happened since then. So
that's huge, because, boy, was I ever in the Summer of Love in 67. I'm so glad you shared that. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I thought you probably knew that, but I saw this in an article and I went, wow, it's the first time this, and then I looked it up in my own ephemeris and I saw, yes, Venus was in Cancer the first week of June in 67, and then the same Sag Gemini. I believe it was both in two in 1 month. I didn't check the earlier one, but I did see it was the same as well. So
that's
anyway,
awesome,
yeah,
awesome.
I think it really is awesome.
And here's another thing. I'm a Cancer. My birthday's July 2nd. But I'm celebrating getting younger now. Every year I'm going to take my age and say I'm a year younger. That's what I'm going to do. But anyway, that's Cancer. And in the zodiac circle, where the signs are, Cynthia, I know Cancer is one of the ones right next to the God, omniscient, omnipotent sign. It's like the Cancer. So I'm saying Cancer energies you're really close to God. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Cancer energies, just to be very specific, are emotions of divine faith. And with Cancer energies, you can materialize and dematerialize anything.
Cool. I'm going to dematerialize my fat. I
want to do the opposite myself. Need a little more.
Anybody else want to come share? See, Sonny, you took that leap of faith and you shared that, and that was important for me anyway to hear.
Well, that's really good. I'm glad. I posted it on my Facebook page too.
Can I thank you to that lady that brought that up about the Summer of Love?
That was Sonny.
Yes.
Sonny, thank you, Sonny. This is Pat. June of 67. I happened to be in Haight-Ashbury.
All right.
Kesey's Magic Bus.
Oh, my God.
And that was the summer. That was around the time, I believe it was, of Altamont. And I had been invited to that, and I refused to go. I had also been invited to Bohemian Grove, and I refused to go at the last minute because I didn't like the vibe. And I felt like when I was walking up and down the streets in Haight-Ashbury, I felt like I was standing in the middle of some kind of geometry that was, on the one hand, very bright, and on the other hand, very dark, because I could see all of the young people, who had been so hopeful and loving, peace, love, and light, and how the alphabet agencies had come in and got them all drugged up on LSD and cocaine and heroin and, people sleeping in doorways and eating out of garbage cans. And there were parts of it that were beautiful, but by the summer of 67, that had already been kind of, attacked. So it's nice to see, my sense of it is hopefully that this is the other side, that the positive aspects of all of that are coming back strong. So
well, that's thanks.
And what was Cynthia and them said tonight, we might see some, people sleeping in doorways or whatever, but we know now to use a tool of just bless them and what Cynthia talked about tonight. Cool.
Hey, Pat.
Yeah.
It's Marianne. Like Cynthia and Richard were talking about, the squares, they are forcing that, what happened in 67, to happen now.
Oh, Marianne, you hit it. Thank you.
Yeah, wow. I would say that 67 was just the very beginning of it all. It was but the dark forces were still pretty strong and just wanted to squash the whole thing. It was definitely awakening.
I think there is that awakening because it's like how many people now are actually, not getting sucked in, say, to this Orlando thing. It's like all these alphabet agency, they have one dance and one trick, and to me, they've overplayed it so many times, and people are waking up. It's not being successful like it used to be. It's being successful in the positive. There's people, I can't tell you the number of emails I've gotten from people I don't even know that have called for throughout this week of special prayers at special times to specifically lift the energy of whatever it was, being attempted with the Orlando thing. And it's like, they got what they wanted in reverse, because it's like the more they play that dumb game, it's like the more people are praying and lifting, and people are, coming out of them doorways and coming out of the drug fog and saying, wait a minute, we've been had. Let's wake up and get out, shake this off. Like a dog shaking off fleas or something. I feel like the alphabet fleas are being shook off, and I think that's wonderful.
It is, and so many.
I wonder if Alphabet Soup Can is changing the name. Somebody go look. Alphabet Soup. Campbell. I'm kidding. Yeah. Anybody else want to share? Thanks, Pat, for your insight.
Well, this is Candy, and I just think this is wonderful. Everything that Cynthia and Marianne and Richard and everyone has been sharing, and it's just a special way to bring it close to the summer solstice, and I just love you, Cynthia.
I love you too. Here's let's do a phone hug.
Okay.
Okay, everybody, let's do 3 special breaths where we breathe in to the count of 10, hold to the count of 10, breathe out to the count of 10, hold to the count of 10 3 times, and then just imagine yourself becoming light and floating up high above the earth where we all see each other, and do a big hug. And let's invite the sun to hug and any of the galactics to hug and anybody else who wants to hug. So let's do 3 special breaths where we breathe in to the count of 10, we hold to the count of 10, we breathe out to the count of 10 and hold to the count of 10 3 times, starting now.
Okay, let's go up, 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 up. Big hug.
Just imagine your physical body still sitting down here, but that your light body rises up high above wherever you are, rises up high over the edge of the earth, and we all see each other, and we come together in a circle, a hug. And we invite anyone else who wants to join us, human, animal, plant, spirit, galactic, to come and hug too. fire beings, water beings, air beings, earth beings, anyone who wants to come hug. If anybody needs healing, you can stand in the middle of this circle where we're hugging. Thank you. And we call in all great beings who want to come and bless us to come. We want to invite the earth herself to send her light body up here. And let's all Om for about 90 seconds. Just feel everybody oming. And in the oming, we're all visualizing ourselves in divine perfection and supreme happiness starting now. Just imagine. You can see there are certain beings beginning to cry with joy. Just keep hugging. And see the energy of our hug coming down to the earth and filling every molecule all the way to the iron core, and then going out into the multi-universes, blessing everyone, so that everyone knows we're doing this. They can feel it and they join in. And we ask that this energy of this hug remain in the atmosphere of the earth, and that anyone who needs a hug at any time can come here and be hugged with the most pure, ecstatic love for as long as they need. And that it spread around the earth to where there's a frequency of this beautiful hug surrounding the earth. So back to you, Elizabeth.
Okay, guys, keep hugging, and hug in your dreams tonight. This is reference number 449 pound on the recorded line. And stay tuned for Voices from the Alternative World tomorrow. It's getting really good. Candy Show with Mark Sorensen, bringing in light codes with our galactic people, star brothers and sisters with the language. And Thursday is Cynthia's Long Call, which will be good. And I love you all. Keep shining, diamonds, and keep hugging. See ya. Next Monday, Chris will be here, too. Thanks.
Are you looking for healing or a change in your life to help you enjoy it more fully? You might benefit from a galactic energy reading and clearing from Chris Jacobs. Chris will work with you on a soul level to clear unseen negative influences, implants, programs, contracts, and energetic blocks. Chris Jacobs is a gifted energy healer. Contact him today at ChristopherStephenJacobs@gmail.com.